Okay, good morning all. I would like to welcome you to my class. Today we are going to do a poem in Unit 13 that is entitled I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. So dear students, the poem I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, as you can see on the picture there, the photo, can you guess the photo of the poet? Okay, so he is William Wordsworth, right? So this poem is composed by William Wordsworth. And talking about William Wordsworth is a very great romantic poet. He was born in England in 1770 and died in 1850. And he is a very famous poet for his poems that praise the beauty of nature. So most of the poem he has written are written about the appreciation of the nature. So that's why he is famous for the poem that praise the beauty of nature. And mainly when we talk about what this poem, I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, is about, so this poem mainly describes the beauty of nature which he enjoys. So there he sees the daffodils, he finds them very, very beautiful, and his heart is filled with pleasure and he feels very, very happy. And then he writes the poem. So now this is the background of the poem. Now let's talk about the poem. So before I start the poem, let's see the pictures. You can see the pictures. So what's the first picture about? So this is a waterfall. Do you find it beautiful? Right, yes, I find it beautiful. You also may find it beautiful. In the same way, you can see the next picture where you can see the mountains, you can see the lakes, and you can see the beautiful trees, right? So I find them very, very beautiful because this is the beauty of nature that attracts us, and these are the natural things. The same way, you can see this picture. When you see this picture, what do you see there? You see a flower, you see a bird, right? And it looks very, very beautiful. So you must like it. The same way you see the next picture, this is like a forest, which is very silent, quiet, looks very beautiful. So by looking at the picture, what do you guess? We guess that in this poem, the poet is describing the beauty of nature. He is talking about the clouds, he is talking about the flower, that is daffodil. So we see in this poem the word daffodil. Daffodil is a flower. This is the flower. You can see the flower daffodil just in the latest picture. The last picture, the yellow colored flower. You can see the clouds floating aimlessly without aim. They don't know where they are moving. So this is what we are talking about in this very poem. Before I move into the poem, so after you look at the title of the poem, you can simply guess what the title of the poem is. And as I have already told you the background of the poet, you know who is the poet, who composed the poem. So what we do is, in your examination, when you do any poem in your course, you can be asked these questions, which you can find in the beginning of the poem. What is the title of the poem? When this question is asked, you have to write, the title of the poem is I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. Or you can shorten it, you can make it a little bit shorter too. It's I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. The same question can be asked in another way. The question can be, what is the poem entitled? So you can write, the poem is entitled I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. Or you can simply write, It is entitled, I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. Who composed the poem? You can easily guess. This is the easiest answer you are asked from this very poem. That is, William Wordsworth has composed the poem. So you can place the answer in place of who. So answering who question is very easy. So this kind of question can also be asked in your examination. Now let's listen to the poem.
I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of the bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils.
You might have listened to the poem, I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. It's a very beautiful poem. So what's the poem about? The poet talks about the personal experience and the pleasure that he gets by looking at the nature. He sees the daffodils, he sees the cloud, he finds himself moving like a cloud, he finds the daffodils like shining like the stars. So that's why these are the natural beauty, and he gets happy, he gets pleasure by looking at the beauty of nature. That's why the poem is written in appreciation of beauty of nature. In other words, the poet talks about the beauty of nature in the poem. Okay, let's go to the first stanza. You see, you must see, when you look through the first stanza of the poem, you must see some of the words written in red letter, right? And two words written in green, and last two words written in blue letters. What do you mean by this? Just let's read this. The first word is cloud. The second word written in red letter is crowd. These are the rhyming words. Cloud and crowd are rhyming words. Just like that, the second line, you can find the word hills and daffodils. Hills and daffodils are also the rhyming words. And the last two words, trees and breeze, these two words are also rhyming words. So we can say that this poem is written in the rhyming pattern. Now let's read the poem. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over hills and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. What do you understand by these lines? Okay, before we describe what these lines mean, let's talk about the difficult words and their meanings. Okay, you see the first word, that is wander. What's the meaning of wander? So wander means walk without an aim. Host, Host means group. Similarly, the word float refers to move slowly, floating. Clouds floating. Clouds are moving slowly. Daffodil, as we have already seen in the picture, this is a yellow colored flower, which is beautiful. The same way, over, this is the use of Old English. So over, this is over. Beside means near. You can see vales, vales and hills. Vales here refers to valleys. Beneath means under. Flutter, fluttering and dancing in the breeze means moving very quickly and lightly in the gentle wind, that is breeze. So what's the meaning of these lines? So in these lines, the poet was walking alone like a cloud which was moving over the valleys, over the hills. While he was moving aimlessly without any purpose, he saw many daffodils, crowd of daffodils which were near the lake, which were under the trees, and they were moving very lightly in gentle wind. So this movement of the daffodils, dancing of the daffodils, attract the poet. He feels very pleasure and he likes it, right? So this is what we mean by these lines. Now let's move to the next stanza. What's the next stanza? Can you guess the rhyming words? The rhyming words are sign, line. Sign and line are the rhyming words. Way, bay, they are the rhyming words. In the same way, glance and dance are the rhyming words. So now let me read these lines. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. You see the words. I think you find some words very difficult that you don't know. Okay, let me just make you clear about the difficult words. What do you mean by twinkle? Twinkle means shine brightly. You must have seen the stars twinkling in the sky. They are shining brightly in the night. Milky Way means sky here, right? So the same way stretch. Stretch is making something long. We stretch something means we make something shorter, very longer, right? So next word is margin of bay, that is carved bank of the lake, because the poet has seen the daffodils on the bank of the lake. Glance means you look something very quickly, that is quick and short look. Toss means move from side to side, that is tossing. The flowers are tossing, they are moving from side to side. And sprightly they are moving. They are moving very lively, moving very energetically, with full of energy. So now, what do these lines mean? So these lines mean the daffodils are shining like the stars in the sky. So here in this line, the daffodils are compared like the stars. The word stars is used for referring to the daffodils. And they make a long, never-ending line on the bank of the lake. You can see very long line of the daffodil plants on the bank of the lake. So the poet saw 10,000 daffodils in his quick look. Here 10,000 means just the exact 10,000, not like that. Many, many he means, right? And these 10,000 daffodils which were just dancing on the bank of the lake are dancing with very full energy. So they are very energetic. They are moving from one side to another side and they are dancing. Okay, so I hope you must understand what these lines mean. So that's why daffodils are very shining like the stars. They are in a very long row. Okay, so the poet saw all these things and he feels very, very happy. Let's move to the next one, the next stanza. We have already discussed the rhyming words, you can simply guess here too. Now let me just read the lines. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what well the show to me had brought. Okay, could you please tell me some of the words which are very difficult for you? Okay, I guess wave is difficult for you, right? So wave means moving water. The waves of the water we say moving water. Sea waves. Outdid means we perform better. I outdid something means I perform better. The same way we see the word glee. Glee means happiness. When you are very pleased, you show your happiness. That is what we say is glee. Gay means happy. I feel gay means I feel happy. I feel pleased. Okay? Dear students, you can see the word jocund. This is a little bit more difficult word that you may not have heard before. So that is cheerful. Cheerful means when you are cheerful. When you are happy, you are cheerful. Gaze means look steadily, fixed look. When you look something closely, that is you gazed. I gazed at you. I looked at you very closely. Glance we just did. Glance is short look. We don't see very closely. Okay. Now, what do these lines mean? You can see the waves beside them means the waves beside which were near the daffodils were also dancing, but the daffodils were dancing more beautifully than the waves. So the poet likes the daffodil. So he felt very happy seeing the jocund company of the flowers. All these flowers dancing together. So they are having a friendly behavior, dancing with each other. He looked at them very closely, time and again, and he was not so confident how much pleasure he could get. He was not confident because he was alone there, right? So, and he went back to his house. So that's why in these lines, the poet is still feeling happy with the dancing of the daffodils. We move to the last stanza, that is for oft. Oft means often. For oft when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon the inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. This is how the poet ends the poem. You see the last lines, and I am talking about the difficult words here. Oft, as I have already told you, that is often. Okay? Couch means sofa, something that is comfortable. Comfortable seat. When you sit on the sofa, you feel very comfortable. You sit comfortably. Sofa. Vacant means empty. Pensive, we say pensive mood. Our mood is different in different times, right? Sometimes we are very happy. Sometimes we are very serious. So when we are in serious mood, that is called pensive mood. Inward eye, my mind, my heart. Bliss is again happiness. So bliss is synonymous with the word glee, as we have already discussed. Solitude means loneliness. You have many friends with you, you are not feeling lonely. But you do not have anyone with you, you sit alone, at that time you feel lonely. This is what we say, solitude. And what does the poet mean by these lines? He saw the daffodils dancing and he came back with some pleasure in his heart. He sat on the sofa, lying very silently, peacefully, He was in a very peaceful mind. He was in a very serious mood, right? And all the things that he had seen on the bank of the lake came into his mind. Everything came, the dancing of the daffodils, the beautiful daffodils dancing with each other. And at that time, when he was sitting on the couch, he was lonely, he was alone, but he was happy because he could see, he could get the pleasure in his heart by remembering the dancing of the daffodils. And now he feels that he has something with him. He's not feeling lonely and he's dancing with the daffodils. So in the beginning of the poem, the poet is lonely. He does not have anyone with him. He sees the daffodils only. But when he comes to the end of the poem, physically he is lonely, but he remembers the dancing, sprightly dancing of the daffodils. He feels that he has got the company of the daffodils. This is how, in this poem, the poet talks about the beauty of nature. So for poet, nature is very beautiful. We are the creation of nature. We are born in the nature. We live in the nature. Ultimately, we die in the nature. That's why the theme of the poem is we should always appreciate the beauty of nature. So this is all about the poem, my dear students. Now let's move to the exercise. You can see the words there, right? And these words, the meaning of these words we have already discussed, I think. We have in the lesson when we are doing lesson. So I guess you can just say the meaning of the words. Vacant means, okay, vacant is empty, right? Sprightly, I have already discussed that. Lively, full of life and energy. In other words, we say energetically. Couch, sofa. This is a comfortable seat. Gaze is look steadily, having a fixed look when you look something closely. Sparkling, shining and flashing like light. Okay. Bay, this is a broad inlet of the sea. Here the lake. This is simply we can say bank. Stretch is extend. Gay means cheerful. So these are the words that you can practice from your book also. So these exercises you can find in your book too. Now let's go to the question answers. We have discussed the first question already. Who composed the poem? That is William Wordsworth composed the poem. Who is compared with a cloud in the poem? So you can see the first line of the poem. I wandered lonely as a cloud. I and cloud. So here the poet is compared with a cloud. Where did the person in the poem see the daffodils? In the first stanza you have already read, he saw the daffodils. Where? Where did he see the daffodils? Can you please tell me? Okay. He saw the daffodils near the lake, under the trees, right? Beneath the lake, beneath the trees. Beside the lake, beneath the trees. What word does the poet use for the daffodils with? He used to compare the daffodils with. He uses the word, I have already told you, that is stars. So daffodils are compared with stars. So this is how you can just practice some of the questions there in your book. Okay, you have more questions in the book. What you do is you please practice these questions. If you have any problem, then you can contact us. This is much for today. Thank you very much.